Welcome everyone. Here we are at week number 7 in the term. We are just about finished with this term of Biology 120. So let's see what we've got going on. Last week you talked some in your journal entry about asexual versus sexual reproduction and the advantages and disadvantages of each, which there are both, to each. Heredity, you learned a lot about this in lab, dominant and recessive traits and Punnett squares and all that, if you're taking the lab. We also had great discussions about nature versus nurture, how much of you as an organism is made up by your genetics and how much is produced by the environment, any kind of environmental stressors, where you live, how long you've lived, what you've been exposed to, from chemicals to your family to everything that has ever happened to you and that you've ever been exposed to. That's a great discussion as always. And you learn some about biodiversity and the importance of mixing up of genes and sexual reproduction having to do with biodiversity. Biodiversity is having many different species living together in the ecosystem, which brings us to the topic this week, which is ecology and ecosystems. And ecology is the study of ecosystems, really. An ecosystem is a particular environment with certain conditions and certain organisms that live together there. For example, the pelagic sea, which is the open ocean, deciduous forest, that's the type of ecosystem that I live in. So ecosystems consist of all the organisms that live together as a community. So every one of those species that lives together, everything from the bacteria to the fungi to the animals, plants, and the protists that live there, and the abiotic features. For example, rainfall, the soil type, the pH of the water in the lake, they're just how much shade there is. There's just so many abiotic features. So how all of those work together to support a particular ecosystem. Read the Module 7 overview and watch the video on Lake Erie. Very interesting. Happens to lots of bodies of water, especially in the United States. We have so much fertilizer runoff from farms and lawns and industries and etc. that we have a lot of water pollution in this country still. I'm also going to post a video on the red tides in Florida, which have been a problem over the last few years. And we have them along the North Carolina and South Carolina coast, particularly in the summertime when it gets really nice and hot. You get these algal blooms, is what they're called, or red tides, because they look like the water has turned red, which are very dangerous. Some of you have talked about this, having to do with eutrophication, and this is an example of it. So I'm going to post this extra YouTube video for you to watch so you can see what these are like if you are not familiar with them. The discussion board postings this week are optional, but they are interesting. They're about eutrophication, and that's why you're watching that video on Lake Erie. The phosphorus cycle, which is important, that is the main nutrient that comes from fertilizers that causes these algal blooms, because there's usually enough nitrogen in a body of water from a decaying matter for the algae and the bacteria to consume as nutrients. Wastes, and also if you respond to any of your classmates talk about human waste, I don't mean, going to the bathroom. I mean all the garbage that we produce and how all those resources that make up our garbage are going into landfills. Talk about energy and nutrient flow through ecosystems and through food webs and food chains. All right, and then the big assignment this week is your final project. Now, I want to emphasize to you, this is worth 260 points out of 1,000. That's more than a quarter of your points rests on this final project. So it is tremendously important. By now, I have graded milestones 1, 2, and 3. That's your final project, but you've got to put it in the right format. You've got to make your corrections. So let me go through some of that. This project consists of slides, so like PowerPoint slides or Google Slides. I know there are other software applications where you can make slides, but most people use PowerPoint. So make slides. Make different slides for each of those topics that you have put headings on through all of your milestones, hopefully, so that I know what you're talking about on a slide. Okay? Slides with headings. Right down the bottom. Label, label, label. Label the headings of the sections. Put your speaker's notes at the bottom of the slides. There's a place there for notes. Please don't make another document like a Word document, because then I got two things that I have to look at, plus I have to look at the rubric. I got all kinds of things open on my screen if you do that. So just put the speaker's notes at the bottom of the slides. So a word about the slides. The slides should not just be full of words. Is that a good presentation? Have you ever been to a presentation where that's what you got? And then, ooh, isn't this great? When the speaker just reads all the words that are on the slide. I can read. You don't need to do that. Yeah, that's a terrible kind of presentation. So anyway, you shouldn't have just a whole bunch of words on slides. If you want to put those words somewhere, put them in the speaker's notes. Have some bullet points to make your point as if you were actually giving this presentation. And have lots of imagery, pictures, and data, graphs, all that kind of thing. Okay? So, speaker notes at the bottom. This consists of all three of the milestones, not just the last one. I will get some though, not just milestone 3. It's all of the milestones. That's the whole project. Make your corrections. I have graded all of this information. So please review your graded rubrics for milestones 1, 2, and 3 and make adjustments. Fix things that I have told you are wrong, and you're going to get a much better grade on your final project. Include imagery, graphics, little cartoons. This is for an audience, right? Now, you have an audience of 1, but you could use it sometime for I don't know what, but you're presenting this as if you were to an audience, so make it interesting looking. If you want to do lots of explanations, then put that in the speaker's notes. That is perfectly fine. I will read every single word. And data. Data's important, important, important. If you, oh gosh, I can't remember who did the gray wolves being reintroduced into Yellowstone. But that graph on the elk population, how it's started decreasing again because of the gray wolves, that is awesome. That kind of thing is excellent. So include data if you can. Global warming, there's all kind of data on that. Things like that, okay? Data. Label, label, label. Every slide needs to have a heading, and that should be the section heading. And if you want to have more than one slide on a particular topic, like you really have gotten into the ethical perspectives of your particular topic. You want to talk about all the laws and regulations and the public's opinion and all that sort of thing having to do with your topic, and you want to have more than one slide, that is perfectly fine. Just label the slides as such. Ethical perspectives, part 1, part A1, however, part 2, perfectly fine. But label, label, label everything so I know what it is that you want me to read having to do with analysis or where this particular topic happens, okay? And if you have any questions whatsoever, as always, there's my name, Dr. Janie Sigmon, m.sigmon at snhu.edu. There it is. And a quick reminder that at the end of the term, August the 22nd, is the deadline to turn in everything. And that means no matter what. That is your deadline. I can't accept anything else after that deadline, and you know that that is 11:59 at night, right? So you have that deadline. and you have to meet that deadline to turn everything in. You can't send me something and because I can't put it in the computer either. All I can do is grade for the next couple of days. So I wanted to remind you of that deadline so you make sure and make it and get all the points that you need to get in order to get the grade that you want to earn. So I hope that you have a wonderful week. Please let me know if you need anything. I am here for you, m.sigmon at SNHU, and I hope that you have a wonderful summer week this week.